Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalam ala rasulillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome all viewers. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, the believers in their mutual love, compassion, and sympathy are just like one body. When one of the limbs suffers, the whole body responds to it with wakefulness and fever. SubhanAllah, how true were the words that the Prophet ﷺ spoke. How eloquent was our beloved Messenger ﷺ. And how evident do we find the truthfulness of these words now, given the situation in Palestine, given the situation that we've been seeing our brothers and sisters suffer through for decades. All one needs to do is look at this map. You can see how Palestine, year after year, has been taken over. It was invaded, it's been occupied. The Palestinians have had more and more taken away from them. They have been treated worse and worse. And whenever this conflict hits the news and I see people on social media discussing it, it always amazes me. It amazes me to see how unjust people can be. When you see how the land has been taken, when you see the disproportionate amount of deaths and casualties, it becomes very apparent to me that there are one of two ways that people rationalize this behavior to themselves. One way is to actually see the Palestinian people as human beings. And if you see them as human beings and you see what they've suffered and what they've endured, then that is surely going to weigh heavily on one's conscience. If somebody knows that they are being oppressive and unjust and murderous, then they are always going to have to look over their shoulder. They're always going to fear a day where they reap what they sow. That being the case, it doesn't surprise me that they would just want to completely eradicate the people that they've oppressed. Unless, of course, they wanted to actually take ownership and admit what they've done and try to right their wrongs. But if they're not willing to do that, then perhaps the best they feel they can hope for is out of sight, out of mind. And the only way to get such people out of sight for them is to try to torture them to the extent where they're willingly leaving, or to genocide them. But then you have the second perspective of people justifying this to themselves, and that is to not consider the Palestinians human. Does anybody lose sleep if pest control comes over to get rid of the rats running around your house? And likewise, some people have belittled our honorable and noble brothers and sisters in Palestine to be less than rodents. Then it's much easier for people who want to eradicate the Palestinians to justify themselves treating them like rodents, or even less than that. And this seems to be the go-to choice for many of them. Take, for example, this tweet from Ben Shapiro. Israelis like to build. Arabs like to bomb crap and live in open sewage. This is not a difficult issue. Hashtag settlements rock. Think about it. Who likes to live in open sewage other than rats? Humans surely don't. And Allah tells us in the Quran, hatred has already appeared from their mouths, but what their breasts conceal is far worse. And it's not hard to tell how little they think of the Palestinian people because we can see how they actually respond when people that they consider to be human are harmed. When Palestinians are killed, oppressed, tortured, it's business as usual. But if something happens to an Israeli, well, they of course are human beings. What's the response then? Well, we see Jordan Peterson saying, "Give him hell, Netanyahu. Enough is enough." I mean, check out this tweet. This guy broke the Sabbath to put out this important tweet. He said, "I have broken the Sabbath and Jewish holiday to deliver this message. Israel should wipe out Gaza, allow 48 hours to evacuate women, children, and the elderly, destroy everything that remains, plow it under, and annex it to Israel. This is the end for Hamas and Palestinian terror." But at the end of the day, brothers and sisters, it really doesn't matter what these people think of us, of Muslims, of our Palestinian brothers and sisters. The only thing that really ultimately matters is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinks of us. And his messenger ﷺ told us that the life of this world is a prison for the believer and a paradise for the disbeliever. Of course, we want to enjoy the life of this world. We would love to live in peace and harmony. However, if we do not achieve that in the life of this world, the hereafter is better and everlasting. And as long as we are on the straight path, we would never, ever exchange what awaits the believers in the hereafter for the fleeting life of this world. The Prophet ﷺ said, if the world were as worthy to Allah as the wing of a mosquito, a disbeliever would not even be given a sip of water. But for some people, this dunya, the life of this world, is all that they have and all that they'll ever have. Allah tells us in the Quran, one of them wishes that he could be given a life of 1,000 years, but the grant of such life will not save him even a little from due punishment, and Allah is all-seer of what they do. May Allah grant our brothers and sisters in Palestine Jannat al-Firdaus for everything that they've gone through. May Allah grant them and all of the Muslims victory in this life and most importantly, the hereafter. Allah knows best. JazakumAllahukhairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.